What is going on, Busy Bariatrics? I'm Rob, your favorite VSG man turned bariatric coach, and today's episode is for every single one of you out there who thinks you've got to be loud to be legit. Let me introduce to you Susan. She's one of the quietest clients I've ever coached, and also one of the most powerful. She joined Busy Bariatrics last year, didn't make a big splash, didn't overcomplicate anything, and didn't post daily pep talks. I will say when she did post, though, people listened because it meant that much more. The best way, she showed up every single day. I've had moments where I wasn't sure what to expect from her until she's holding a one-handed plank in front of 200 people at the First Form gym during JBY, until she's leaning out like a machine, lifting heavy, tracking like a pro, and doing all the things without needing to be told twice. This episode is called Quiet Power for a reason, because Susan is the definition of a crockpot client. Slow, steady, low drama, high impact. She proves that you don't need to be loud. You just need to be consistent. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rob.
So excited to have you. It's always impressive to just see how you've developed. And how long have you been in Busy Bariatrics for people who don't?
So I joined Busy Bariatrics during the summer of 2023 because I was intrigued by summer camp. And I had been following you since November of 2022 because my husband had had bariatric surgery. So I was looking for recipes. I came across your no-cook cookbook, and we kind of exchanged a couple of emails, and then I was on your newsletter, and then following your Instagram, and summer camp just kept coming up. And the more I saw it, the more I'm like, that'd be kind of cool, because I like you said, I'm kind of low key. And if I don't have to be, it was something that I figured I could do, but not have to be, oh my God, I'm there. I joined up summer camp when you said, hey, I have a couple more openings, but I don't have any one-on-one coaching. So I was like, I don't care. I just want to do summer camp. I want to listen to your speakers. So that's how we started.
And it's so amazing because I think for a lot of our clients, they start as summer campers and they're like, what am I getting into? They get all these guest experts. They get so many extra supports. They get extra counselors who are cheering them on and people just really making sure they're doing well. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, we've been here close to 2 years, still working and still getting amazing results. From what you saw in summer camp, what made you stay past summer camp?
Just being part of a community of people who had the same focus and the same challenges and the same struggles and the same wins. Being with those kind of people who are honest about what they were going through, as opposed to the yay raw influencers on Instagram who share whatever highlight of their week is all about. And you go, really? And just that. Not to mention the fact that, the speakers were amazing. They gave insights that I can apply. They weren't down on the bariatric community. Let's put it that way, because there are so many people out there who are, you cheated the system. Yeah, if you think that's the case, why don't you come and join my train? You go get your stomach shrunk. You go deal with how you figure out how to eat, what you're supposed to eat. You go figure out how to deal with all the head stuff that comes up later on when you go, oh, I want to eat that, but it either makes me sick or it's not, not fitting the plan right now, or I can't control myself when I'm around it. There's all of that. And just having the support to deal with some of that is the biggest reason I'm still here. Not to mention the fact that Lisa programs really good workouts for me.
Yeah, it's amazing because when you came on, you really got to see the program grow from that first year where it was really just me, and then having Kylie and Lisa come in, and then Lisa really taking on building the workouts for our clients and really listening to what the clients need and making the proper adjustments and giving feedback. It really is a very surrounding and immersive program. And you've actually seen it from both the remote package where we just do a weekly check-in. And I was always so amazed because you kind of figured out the cheat code of doing remote coaching. It was that you would fill out your form consistently. A surprise, surprise of here's what I'm dealing with and here's what my issues are. And then I would tell you, here's what to do. And then you would do them. And not everyone does that, but it was always awesome to see, like, week over week, you would still check in, you would still make sure that you would adjust. You would be very open and upfront and honest of like, hey, here's where it's working, here's where it's not working, here's where I need more support. And we would tailor a lot of that to you. What would you say is some of the ways you've developed or shown growth since joining Busy Bariatrics?
Habits and structure. So I have learned that if I'm left unattended without structure, I go just happy and crazy. I go off the rails really quick. And the structure is, it's not like rigid, but if I don't consistently get up, go to the pool, eat my planned breakfast, because I'm one of those people who eats pretty much the same thing every morning. I might switch back and forth between two options. I'm the person who eats the same thing for lunch, and dinner is, whatever happens to come. So there's structure. And lately I've been feeling like, I don't know what, I'm struggling. I've been talking with Kylie about this. And the realization of just go back and look at what you were doing. You've already done this now for 2 years. You have the output of the results of what you can do. Just step back and don't try to make it fancy. Don't go chasing the new shiny object that rolls out every January, right? Because I'll admit, I've been like, ooh, maybe I should go on that diet. Ooh, maybe I should go do that workout. No, just stick with the course and go back and look at what you've been doing. So structure has been the biggest thing, which then has led to some really strong habits around movement. And the fact that I recognize that I can do the movement and it's good for me, right? Because for the longest time, the word exercise, I will tell you right now, I hate to exercise.
Yeah.
Right? So don't call it exercise. It's movement.
I think a lot of people associate exercise with punishment, especially if you were obese at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So there's just this belief around it. Whereas when we look at like, what does our movement look like and how are we putting it all together? And I agree, for so many of the people who thrive in Busy Bariatrics, it comes to, we have structure, like in so many ways, but we aren't really rigid of, you have to have a system you consistently do, and whatever your system is, it's your system, but how do you keep it consistent? And when it comes to meal planning, I think we see that as well. So many times we have people who are like, oh, I need variety in my foods. And then it's like, okay, do your variety thing. And we look over the logs and it's like, you're really eating 3 or 4 of the same breakfasts or some variation every breakfast. And lunch is kind of the same way. And I think where you do really well, where a lot of our clients do really well, is understanding like, well, if I have like 3 or 4 templates for breakfast, 3 or 4 templates of some idea of what I'm doing for lunch, and then just let dinner kind of go with what is the family having around the table and eating it in a portion that reflects my goals, it really does keep like this idea of there's some structure, but it's not too restrictive.
Right. And none of this is about restrictive. None of this is about restriction. And that's another one of those, you got to get it into your head that no food is bad. You can have whatever food you want. Just figure out how to fit it into your plan. Right? So if you've taught us this, if you know you're going to the barbecue, you know you're going to a wedding, you know you're going to a family party, figure it out beforehand. Think about what you're going to do. Robin's mini pizzas with the Velveeta and the sausage, they're there, and you know you're going to eat them. So figure out what you're not going to eat, or figure out what you're going to do before you get to Robin's house so you can enjoy.
I think it's so common. It's like we were like, Friday is pizza night in our household. So it just works perfect. And everyone's like, well, why are you eating so low carb or low fat all day? It's like, well, because I'm going to eat all my carbs and fats on the pizza. And it's what we mean of incorporating everything. It's not necessarily that carbs are bad or that fats are bad. It's if you know it's coming in at this part of your day, eat more vegetables during the morning. Like, make sure
the broccoli and carrots are for in the day.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it makes it a little bit easier to go down. I'm not going to sit here and tell you every breakfast or lunch we have is this like, oh my goodness, this is Instagram, Pinterest worthy meals, but it's also what gets me through to be like, you know what, I'm having really good pizza tonight, and that's kind of how we're doing it.
I think I shared an attempt to make a lettuce wrap that looked
Yes.
more like a scared salad than it did a lettuce wrap, right? But, in the end, it was some meat, some cheese, some lettuce, and some pickles with some mustard splattered on it. How it looked as it got eaten really didn't matter in the
If it steers, it clears. I think it's where I see a lot of people struggle, especially in the bariatric community, is this idea of like, if I don't have some sort of like Instagram worthy, either like mixed together or a loaf or like a blend, it's not like worthy of meals. Whereas some of our best clients are really just eating like, is it a pretty lettuce wrap? No, but it gets me my protein, my vegetable, and it gets everything so I can have my carbs with pizza later at that
Yeah.
night. And that's really where the success comes from, is like, it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to hit our goals.
And in fact, I'm discovering that sometimes just the whole deconstructed idea of lunch, put some stuff on a plate, take it, because I work from home, I have a tendency to eat at my desk. So take the plate of all the bits and pieces down at your desk and eat them as you work, which means I don't eat as quickly as if I'm sitting at the table, which is not necessarily the best advice for anyone, but it's what works for me because I don't just like feel like I have to stuff it in my face and get back to work. I'm at work and I'm doing my thing. And so, yeah, just, just being more flexible with myself, but still staying within those things that I know I want to have during my day makes it much easier. I don't have to stress about
Yeah, and I think that's also important to understand, is like, we have a lot of people who work from home who are at a desk job or just sedentary. And it doesn't mean like you can't just either get up earlier like you do and crush a workout early in the morning, or get your walks in, or even just doing some simple things like, okay, here's a meal that works for me. And yes, I may not have that perfect 30-minute mindfulness meal, but like in our household, there's always a rotisserie chicken deboned in the fridge that people can just take, throw together with either some enchilada sauce, some tomato sauce, soy sauce, and make either like a stir fry or any one of those meals, and then kind of be like, okay, it works for tonight or like a midday snack. And it just keeps you like coloring within the lines without saying like, well, because I can't have this perfect meal, now I'm going to have like 3 sleeves of Oreos as we go through.
it. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I do, when we make stir fry, I don't do rice. Just the thing. But we do cauliflower rice. So we do the cauliflower rice with all the stir fry vegetables, a little soy sauce on it. And I always make extra. And I put it in the refrigerator for whenever. Well, my daughter has figured out that, hey, Mom, that's really good. I really like that. Because I don't put any of the meats in it. I like shrimp. She does not. So we don't put any of the proteins in it. We just put the vegetables in one container and whatever meat my husband and I chose to make that night in a separate container. And then she can make chicken. She has chicken because I always make both. And I'll be like, well, who ate all the rice? Who ate all the vegetables? I did. I'm like, okay, fine. It's all good. But dang, why did you eat my lunch?
It's funny because if we keep our like our vegetables in the refrigerator, there's a better chance they'll go bad than they will get eaten. But if I leave out like some extra chopped carrots, some chopped cucumbers, or even just the grape tomatoes on the counter, my daughters will all of a sudden be like, oh, and they swipe a little bit. And that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you want them to do, is like, you know what? If they go in the fridge and the first thing they see is stir fry vegetables and cauliflower rice, that's a win. That's something that's going to be healthier, that keeps fast food maybe a little bit at bay, and if you know how to cook it right, it does one.
Yeah, both of my kids are now, they're 18 and 19, so they can fend for themselves when it comes to fast food.
Absolutely.
Mom will occasionally do the run to buy the food, but it's not a regular thing for me anymore. So if they want fast food, they're on their own. They're going to have to go get their own. And they're welcome to eat whatever we're eating, but every so often I'll hear, ooh, are you having that healthy stuff again? Yes. tell you, welcome to some. No, I don't want that. I'm like, okay. You know where the other stuff is. You can find it. There's all kinds of frozen dinners in the freezer. There's Nutella on the counter. There's bananas on the table. Knock yourself out. And they're not starving, that's for sure.
That's why we always have the Just Bar chicken tenders in the freezer, where it's like, look, just
Yep.
if you really don't like what we eat, go put some of those. There's always bagged lettuce for a salad, and be like, look, either make a salad or put it on like a sandwich roll with the fillets and have a sandwich. But like, we made a delicious, nutritious meal. That's kind of what we do here.
Yep, that's one of the things that kind of changed at our house, because I'm the person. I grew up in a household with a mother who was a school lunchroom cook, a father who was a National Guard mess steward. We cooked like they did catering on occasions, so the idea of cooking small amounts of food kind of was not there.
No conflict.
And I still to this day cannot cook less spaghetti than what it would take to feed like 8 people.
I feel like that, like if you're making your own sauce, or as we call in the Jersey region, gravy, like it's a serving of 16 regardless. So,
oh yeah, easily. And
so
that
we do is we
small,
put it in the big freezer and we freeze a bunch of it. But yeah, it's big portions where I think at our bigger sizes, it might have been like, well, we're eating this all week or until it goes.
well, no, back when we were larger, this was dinner and maybe a lunch for you tomorrow, right? Because it's pasta, let's be honest, pasta was one of those quick, easy, and everybody likes it. So simple to do.
Yeah. Add in the fact it's incredibly affordable. Like a box
Right.
of pasta is like 2 cents. Check me on my math on that. But it's for under $2, you can feed a family with pasta. And if you make the sauce properly, you're good to go. And it's relatively quick. It makes the meal work, and you can stretch it as long as you want.
Yeah, and now I'm like, my stomach doesn't really care for. Go figure. Darn it.
Yeah.
But, I'll still make pasta for my daughter because she loves it. We have not gotten the magic touch yet on Alfredo sauce, but that's why she goes to the Olive Garden, because they have the best. All right. But that's her thing.
Sentence irks my soul between a white sauce and then going to the Olive Garden that I'm just
She likes it, and it's all good. I'm like, you've been to St. Louis. You've eaten on the Hill. You know what kind of restaurants are there. I'm like, you should really go check out one of the really good Italian restaurants and try their Alfredo sauce.
You know what? It's funny because I ate on the Hill when we were in St. Louis together at JBY. We ate on the Hill every night because I am such a creature of habit where I'm like, look, there's like 4 Italian places that look really good. We're going to go to a different one every night. And then I think me and Stacy, I said on the last night we were together, I'm like, we're going back to the first one. Like we did, like, here's the top 3, and then we're going to give whoever the gold medalist is a second meal. And I'm that guy who not only did I go to the same restaurant that I liked, I'm like, I'm getting the chicken parm again. And she's like, you had it the other night. I'm like, but if it's a tried and true, I really like it, I know what I like, I can eat it again. Like, as of this recording, I just got back from Florida, and it's like I had Skyline for lunch every single day. And people are like, that's insane. And I'm like, no, I really like it. I don't get it often. And then that'll probably scratch my itch for 2026 as of this recording.
It's like me going home to Idaho, getting the things that I want, that I miss because I can't get them in St. Louis. So you enjoy those moments. And
I remember specifically because that was back when you were on my roster, was your first trip back to Idaho. And we talked about, like, how do we incorporate foods that we naturally don't have in our habitats? Because there is a level of nostalgia. And I think that's where some coaches kind of fall off, is this idea of like, you need to lock in, or if you have a goal, not to have that. It's like, well, Susan isn't going to Idaho like every week or every month. It's how often do you go back home, Susan?
Well, when we were first, my husband, before I got married, I went home twice a year. We'd go home in the summer, and I would go home at Christmas time. And when I got married, then we would go home in the summer, and then we would go every other Christmas. When we got kids, we went once. And then we didn't go for a while, and then we made a couple of trips because of my mom passing away. But then after my mom passed away, we went one time after that. And then in this most recent trip, it had been 8 or 9 years since I'd been out to visit Idaho. So it was kind of we went without kids, just my husband and I. And it was kind of a big deal for me because part of me is like, I'm just going to cut loose and enjoy it all. But then the other part of me was like, no. So I was the person who packed an air fryer in the back of her car, her gym bag, her swim bag, exercise bands, because they were in the workout bag. My husband gets there and he goes, I forgot to bring my exercise band. I'm like, don't worry about it. I got it in the bag. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, my workout bag's in the back of the car. I can get you a band. Simple. And then we planned meals that just like we would eat here. One night I said, hey, I told my brother and sister that, hey, I'm going to cook tonight. You're welcome to come over. So we made one of the meals that I make for us here. And they came over and joined us. And then my brother and his kids came over one night for fajitas. And it was no different than being at home. We enjoyed the same kinds of things, but I got to do it with my family. And there were times when we had treats and enjoyed those too. So it was not like we went to the state fair, which as growing up as a kid, going to the state fair meant a couple of things. It meant you always got a pronto pup, which is just a glorified corn dog with a nice name.
Mm-hmm.
We got ice cream from the local dairy plant, dairy, whatever. They have all these ice cream things. We bought popcorn. We just kind of relaxed and enjoyed it. And it was interesting because in my head, I had built up this whole, oh man, I'm going to eat this pronto pup and it's going to be so good because I haven't had one for so long. And then I'm eating it and I'm going, this is just corn dog. It's not that exciting.
It's funny what we build up in our minds, and psychologically that is very common. It's the idea of because we have an emotional connection to our childhood associated with food. For many of us, that's the habit loop of it brings us warmth, it brings us comfort, it brings us nostalgia, it brings back all these emotions of it. But then when you're actually slowing down and chewing it, you're kind of like, it's a corn dog.
It's a corn dog.
A lot of the times, I look at cheesesteaks in the Philly regions, yeah, this is a really good cheesesteak. Or for me, Pat's and Geno's, I always associate with college they were open late night. So you would go at 3 or 4 in the morning and, you'd probably be in a different condition than what you normally are for it. So you're like, this is amazing. But then when you have it sober on a Saturday afternoon at 1, you're kind of like, it's just okay. It's not as amazing as I thought it to be. But again, it's just how the mind wires around food, but how you can actually rewire it when you introduce it.
It was having that solid foundation was key to making it through the vacation. And Kylie and I were talking about this just in my last check-in, that I've discovered that when I came back from vacation, my focus on structure was kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's taken October, November, December. It's taken 3 or 4 months to really realize that and start getting back to the structure and the routine.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times people don't have these massive derails when it comes to their structure or anything. It's this slow drift away of, I'll push the workout back here, or I don't have to meal prep on Saturday mornings, or whenever people do it. And then all of a sudden 3 to 4 months goes by and it's the sandcastle's kind of eroded and we have to build it back. So what did you and Kylie come up with to help build back your structure and routine?
So I'm going to do some journaling about what I see and ideas of how I can get myself back into the structure of things. Back in May, I decided I would get a second job,
Mm-hmm.
a part-time job. And it's not a need. It is what it is. But having that second job, because I work essentially 10 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock the next morning, has an impact on things that happen the next day. Because the way it happens is I'll wake up at 5:45 the day I'm supposed to work. I'll work my shift at my full-time job. I'll try to catch a few hours of sleep in between and then go to work from 10 till 6 and then come home and work the full-time job. Maybe get some sleep in between the two. But that means I'm not going to the pool at 5:30 in the morning. It means I'm probably not going to pick up a lift in the afternoon on that day after I work overnight because I'm just wiped out. So I keep a calendar, not a digital calendar. It's a hand jotted down calendar, and it's purely for workouts and swims. So I have an annotation, and when I look at it, I can see patterns and trends starting, right? And that's when I have to stop. And Kylie and I talked about this is, doing the pros and cons list for this second job. What are the pros? Because there are some. And what are the cons? Because there are some. And then, deciding, am I going to keep it or am I going to let it go? So I need to figure that out. And that's on my assignments for this next couple of weeks is to do that. She also sent me something called a loop sheet, I think. Or something. So I'm going to do that just to kind of do a reset on where my head is and get some things figured out. Because if you're a bariatric patient, you've invested a lot first to get the surgery. Then you invest a whole lot more just to get yourself to stay consistent and to lose the weight and to figure out this new mode of living and moving and eating, because it is new. It's not like you've done it before. It's new.
And Susan, as we go into that, can you give everyone a little bit of an idea of like what was your highest weight when you started this and
so
surgery take you?
Yeah, so my highest weight was around 375 when after going through several years of drop it, lose it, regain it, drop it, lose it, regain it some more. So it was about 375, and I started. When I hit that point, I started trying on my own to drop some weight. I did that primarily through eating really big salads and focusing on that. I participated in a diabetes research study, and it's funny because I was doing some cleaning in my office and I came across one of the tracker books that we used. And I couldn't remember, I know we tracked things, but I couldn't remember what we tracked. And funny is, we tracked fat grams and calories.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing about protein.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing.
I
Fat grams and calories.
Can you give me an idea of when that diet, like when that
book was back in 1998.
Yeah.
So I joined the study in 98 and I've been in it ever since.
So then I can tell you exactly from diet culture, like on the timeline, you're right in the height of the low fat, no fat.
No fat, no fat. Yep. And
it was the idea of like, if you just cut your fat down to a certain amount, you're going to lose weight. This was the age where like SnackWells was a big thing.
I was just thinking about SnackWells because they were my theme. I can have a SnackWell, or I can eat these no fat potato chips. Yeah. And that was really before I started paying attention to the back of the box to know that, yeah, I'm not getting any fat, but I'm sure as heck getting a lot of added sugar and a lot of added this. And so, yeah.
It was all and the problem is, like, from a macro standpoint, fat also handles satiety because it's calorically dense. So when you're having these low fat, high processed sugar foods, not only can you eat more calories of it, it's incredibly easy to like just consume and have it like not feel full. So the worst part is, I remember like I'm a child at this point and I would slam a box of SnackWells and like a bag of fat-free potato chips thing like, I'm totally healthy, I'm gonna be fine, and have no idea why I'm gaining so much weight as a child.
I can eat, so this will tell you, even back then, I was the person who ate the same thing for lunch every day.
Yeah.
So for lunch, it was half a peanut butter sandwich and a bag of carrots.
Mm-hmm.
And at night, it was one of those crazy pot pies or something, but there was nothing that really talked about protein. Now, before I had joined the study, before I even moved to St. Louis, I had gone to an endocrinologist and he put me on something called a protein-sparing modified fast.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that really focused on the protein, but the timing on that with when I moved made it so that I had no support. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. Well, and the other thing was, I can't afford this on my own because I was eating my parents' tuna fish when I was at home. Now I'm eating my own tuna fish and I can't afford it. At least that's what I said to myself. So, move forward through all of that, lost 70 pounds in that program, the diabetes study, the first 6 months. Hit the lowest weight I'd hit in my adulthood. Life happened. My husband got in a major car accident. I became a caretaker.
Yeah.
And put me on the back burner. Right?
So common for so many of our...
Move forward to about 2020 timeframe, COVID timeframe, that highest weight. And the fact that now I'm not going out of my house, not going to an office where I was starting to walk more. I'm home and my kids are home and we're all just trying to survive. So my husband needed to have his other hip. He needed to get his second hip replacement.
Mm-hmm.
He was weighing 420. The doctor, his orthopedic surgeon, just looked at him and said, "Sorry, there is no way that the insurance will ever." He goes, "You really need to investigate getting bariatric surgery." So we started for him, got him on his surgery. 6 months later, he had his hip replacement and he was well on his way. I was still on the wrong side of the fence saying, I'm not going to do that because that's cheating.
Yeah. Very common for people to think,
right?
Oh, this is a cheat.
That's cheating. And then I started paying more attention to folks like you, folks like Connie Stapleton, people who are talking more positively about bariatric surgery and the realization that it's not a cheat, it's a tool.
Yeah.
And finally made the decision to contact a bariatric surgeon in the same practice that my husband went to and got the process started. In January of 2023, I finally made that happen and have been successful now in dropping down to a weight where my BMI is normal.
Yeah, and that's a great spot to be. Do you have a ballpark of what we've lost through the whole process?
200.
That's amazing. 200 plus pounds, such an incredible process. And to give an idea of what your lifestyle looks like since joining Busy Bariatrics, can you give an idea of how you're managing 2 jobs, lifting weights, going to the pool, meal prepping, meal planning, and still showing up in our community? Because I'm always amazed that you do all that you do and how well you do it.
So on the days I don't have, on the mornings after haven't worked the nighttime job, the day starts at about 4:45. Get up. Well, actually, the night before is when it starts because that's when I pack the swim bag. That's when I gather up the coffee cups. That's when I make sure the purse and the keys and all that are easily grabbed. If I intend to do any journaling, the notebooks in the bag or the Kindles in the bag, all of that's prepped and gathered up the night before.
So important, even just right there, because I think a lot of people don't realize the importance of if you want to have a good day, you have to start the day before by prepping your bag, getting your lunch together, make sure everything's set up for success.
I've already experienced the moment when you get done swimming at the pool and you're trying to get dressed and you don't have something that you really need.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, what can I do about that?
I'm going to put you on the spot. What is the worst thing you have forgotten to get?
Underwear.
Yeah. It's usually underwear or socks. I feel is always the
underwear.
Man, I am barefooting in my shoes today, and there's nothing worse than that.
So yeah. So if I don't do that, because I know if I try to do it the morning of, we'll be in the underwear situation. Right?
I know I'm already so sleep tired when I wake up. It has to be almost muscle memory of just put the clothes on that are laid out, get your shoes on, get in the car before you realize it's cold, it's dark, and it's miserable, and let's get our day started.
Start the night before, 4:45. I try to get up. Sometimes I don't make out of the bed until 5:10. Get up, brush the teeth, do the scale, talk to the dog, talk to the cat, grab my stuff in the car, to the pool for an hour, get dressed, and then I take myself to have coffee. And breakfast, which is yogurt and one of their mini bagel thins. And then I'm either writing in the journal, listening to a podcast, reading a book, for about an hour and a half there. That's my me time. And I don't care what anybody says. It's my time. Then I'm home and in the basement to work. And if it's a day that I have a lift scheduled, it'll be to the gym around 4:45, 5 o'clock at night. Get home around 7, fix whatever we're having for dinner. If it's a night I have to work, try to catch a couple hours of sleep. Be up and start to get ready for the nighttime job at 9:20. Out the door to be there by 10. Fortunately, it's like a mile away from my house, so I don't have to do a whole lot of crazy driving. Be there, come home, and if it's a day that I don't have the nighttime shift, typically come home and if it's a day after I don't do a lift, I have discovered that going to the pool in the afternoon is a great way to just kind of keep myself feeling okay.
Yeah.
Fix whatever we're going to have for dinner and go to bed early and start all over again. So fortunately, or the nighttime job, the shifts I work involve putting away our grocery orders.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of movement and a lot of just getting things done. It's not just standing there, which is why I've specifically asked for those shifts, because unless it's a Friday night, there's not a whole lot that happens between midnight and 4 a.m. in our area. It's just a few crazies that show up. Unfortunately, you start to know the crazies and they become your regular customers. So, but that's how
Yeah, and it's a perfect way to go. So I'm looking at the time and I want to respect yours as well. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to go through the busy method and see how we're doing. The B is for building habits. What's the best habit that you've built since joining Busy Bariatrics or after bariatric surgery?
Exercise, movement,
mm-hmm.
Swimming in the pool and weightlifting. Finally have gotten my head back around the whole lift thing and focusing on feeling like I'm finally getting back into that, feeling stronger. So movement is the best habit.
Always the best. The U is for understanding nutrition. Best lesson you've learned since joining Busy Bariatrics?
That I can fit anything into the plan.
Yeah.
That only works if I have a plan.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the most important part, is having a clear plan that works for you and then learning how to color within the lines. And you show that. S is for staying active. Favorite way to do it?
Pool, swimming. That's it. It used to be walking, but my knees don't enjoy that. So the pool.
It's a true example, because when you first started your walks, you would give us like these play-by-plays of here's what I'm meditating, here's what I'm thinking about, and they were beautiful. But, as there was a little bit of knee pain, it was like, well, how do we make sure we're still moving and getting everything in? And you were like, let's just adjust to swimming. And you do it all year round. So I'm always so impressed with that. The why you've kind of talked about, but let's go through it again. What's the best way you show up for yourself these days?
So that morning, take a chance break, drink some coffee.
Yeah.
Allowing myself just some time to enjoy reading a book, not feeling like I have to do something for someone just because they stamp their foot and say, I need this. That all comes down to recognizing that you're a people pleaser and you need to stop. You have to set the boundary and you need to stop. And if you're going to please someone, focus on yourself first.
Exactly. That's the most important person to please, and do it in the most healthiest way possible. And I love that. Now, you're like, I spelled busy, but we know there's an exclamation point. What is your favorite healthy source of dopamine?
I guess just being able to take time and relax.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be able to shut off and just kind of not worry about things for a little bit. That right now is it.
And it's such an important lesson to keep. So, Susan, we're getting close to the end. Is there any last thing you want to share before we close out this episode?
Just anybody can do this. You don't have to have had bariatric surgery. Anybody can do this. And it's not about the exercise or the movement. It's not just about the food you eat. It's about the whole head thing. Because if you don't fix the head, it doesn't matter what you do physically. And fixing your head, your mindset, there's both positive things that you can adjust, and there's a lot of negative things that you have to adjust.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And regardless of where you're at or what tool you leverage, you got to recognize that.
Yeah, so important. All right, Busy Bariatrics, if this episode hit, that means it's time to stop collecting awareness and start applying action. Quiet does not mean weak, slow does not mean stuck, and consistency, that's where the real power lives, and Susan showed you in this episode. You do not have to be loud to be legendary, you just have to show up like Susan. I'm Rob D'Amedio, and as always, keep getting busy. Bye, Susan.
Bye-bye.